This is things you might have heard, and right now, today, in mere moments, I'm going to give you the full weekend's worth of great information, politics, current events, and pop culture news that you said was conversational, you said was worth chatting up. We are your go-to supplemental source for both mainstream and unconventional news stories that may have been missed. So we add a little bit of flavor, a little context to things that you might not have gotten if you're watching the mainstream media all day long, where the big stuff comes from. And you should, but we'll also give you some things that get missed out when the bigger stories sort of overtake things. My name is Jake Payne. As our teaser graphic shows, we're not exactly talking about Pat McAfee, but we are. We're talking about the ESPN layoffs and 9 other stories from the weekend that you guys deemed as most conversational in your vetting process. We'll explain that a bit after all the headlines, but let's get into that in just a moment. Remind you that we have a website, our main website, as you will, as this is a conversationproject.com, where you can find more details about us, more going there and seeing us. I mean, less of me yakking about it here, but we will yak about it in a bit. In the meantime, today happens to be Monday, July 3rd, 2023. So happy day before Independence Day if you're in the United States. Otherwise, happy Monday. Let's get into the news stories that we have picked for you today. Some picked, although you did most of the picking. Story number 1 reads like this, headline at least. 2 people are dead and 28 people were injured in mass shooting at Baltimore block party, officials say. The officials said this. In fact, the numbers sort of shifted a bit, where I think the total number of people who were injured turned out to be 30. The dead include 2 teenagers at a block party that was more or less unofficial. It wasn't anything like a large gathering that was planned and had city permits. It was just a block party around the neighborhood. And then a couple of people are shooting, more than one person shot things up. The mayor of Baltimore came out and said this is not just a crime against Baltimore. It's a crime that shows what we have as a nation with gun violence and people who are young who choose violence in this case, as opposed to whatever they could do in these cases. We're going to find out more about this as this goes along. This was a story that sort of overtook the weekend, although not quite as big as, the coup last weekend. But this is a story that sort of overtook news coverage all weekend long, as everybody had something to say about this. A few other mass shootings, a few other issues in the weekend happened as well. This one got the most headlines because of just the sheer number of it and the force of the mayor in Baltimore. The governor of Maryland also stepped up. That's Wes Moore, speaking out of this again, but this is something that's going to become a long going thing in the news coverage, because most people on both sides of the issue have beefs with this thing, and they have a reason to use this as a launching pad for more of their own talk. The actual big story of the weekend was basically the Supreme Court, as they struck down a lot of things, but the one we're focused on right here was the bigger one in the responses. More engagement here, so we'll pick this one over the affirmative action one, and over the the website design that wasn't a real case. Supreme Court strikes down Biden's student loan debt forgiveness program. This caused President Biden to come out and basically tell some folks what he's going to do about it. So Supreme Court said that this student loan program is unconstitutional. It can't be put into place. So what's going to happen is Biden's going to put in place some things anyway. He feels, and they feel they have a good idea in the administration, they can legislate a lot of this stuff. And most of the stuff actually is covered over existing law. It's just the fact that they're going to essentially eliminate the debt for so many people, not for the conditions that were already in place for certain things, is the issue. How it's going to work, I don't know. I'm not in the Biden administration. I'm also not in the Supreme Court. So I don't really know why it shouldn't work. But what we're going to find out is we're going to start paying back our student loans in August, September, except if Biden is successful, he'll put down a plan that will give us a chance to ease into it. So if you're not ready in a few months, you can still not pay your bill, but you'll be put on a way where it will give you chances to not accrue any penalties going forward. Still accruing interest, and still should be paying it, but you won't accrue any penalties for about 12 months in the process. We'll see if that one actually flies. Let's go to story number 3 for the morning. Reading on a headline like this: Bonnie Morgan, was told she wasn't pretty enough to play Topanga on Boys Meet World. Now, Bonnie Morgan was 12 years old when she auditioned for the role of Topanga Lawrence in Boy Meets World. The role obviously did not go to her because she showed up for the pilot, did some taping, and then was told She wasn't pretty enough to play Topanga. Now, this is something that actually goes on fairly often still now in Hollywood dealings and fairly often with kids going forward. Basically, the people in charge of the show can make things happen. Of course, Boy Meets World was a very successful program in its first run, and of course, in the successful run of the spinoff, which was Girl Meets World. This thing sort of worked out for all the cast there, except maybe Bonnie Morgan could have been your Topanga and could have been on your posters as a teenager, if possible. Go deeper into the story and kind of go into what's going on. It's one of those things that were, it's kind of interesting to pick up, and that's why a lot of people sort of picked up on this one. A lot of news coverage on this one, believe it or not, for the weekend. But this is one that makes you think of what ifs. What if Bonnie Morgan had actually played the role of Topanga? Would the show have been the same? Would it have been better or worse? Who knows? Because we don't play those games, but it's fun to think about it sometimes. The next story, heavy rains flood Chicago roads and forced NASCAR to cut short a downtown race. The big issue was the National Weather Service warned of flooding in Illinois. Chicago hit really, really big as many police cars were out there trying to push many cars out of stuck water, including in one of the hot spots, or wet spots, if you will. 10 cars were trapped in water on Interstate 55 near Pulaski Road, wherever that is. There was a bunch of cars stuck there. What really happened that caused people to pay attention was NASCAR officially canceled the last half of the Xfinity Series race through Chicago's downtown on Sunday. Cole Custer was declared the winner in his first NASCAR start, so that's great for him. The biggest problem was this was a big showcase for NASCAR being in Chicago, and the people they actually got a chance to interview who saw this got a chance to rave about the chance of never getting a chance to see NASCAR because they're not in Alabama. So they brought it to Chicago, brought it to the streets, and it was a great thing to see. Although they cut it short by 75 laps to make for the heavy rains. Sticking with sports, we use Pat McAfee as our poll with our teaser graphic, but it's not really about him, although we're going to bring him up. The headline actually reads, ESPN layoffs include, if you will, Jeff Van Gundy, Jalen Rose, Keyshawn Johnson, Max Kellerman. Plenty of bigger names on this channel are gone. Two names that aren't gone, Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee, who apparently has not even joined ESPN yet. I've been watching some of his YouTube stuff lately, just kind of getting ready for him, and he's still dropping F-bombs, still doing all the crazy stuff, which is like, I thought he was going to have to stop that to be on TV. Apparently he hasn't joined quite yet, and he had a statement saying that he's happy to be joining the group. Now, for the other folks leaving, these are some of the bigger names that are on TV, some bigger things out there, not including Stephen A. Smith. Disney actually cut its global workforce by 6% over the past couple of months. So many people have been dropped over many properties, including the theme parks as well. So people just have been dropped. These are some of the more notable names that you see on TV and hear on the ESPN radio that are going away. There's only so much room for so many places. Unless somebody's going to throw some money at another sports channel, there's only so many places where these guys can go and take over spots, even if it's taking someone else's spot at some other place. We shall see how many folks get sucked in by Fox Sports 1 or any of the regional channels that are still left out there, or NFL Network or those NBA Network, things like that going forward. Let's go to the next story. Headline reads, dozens of sources claim Jonathan Majors has history of violence. We've talked a lot about Jonathan Majors. He was the top story. I had a story that was in the teaser graphic last week. And what we're hearing right now, even after he is countersuing the girlfriend who is suing him for battery and all that stuff, is that the Rolling Stone magazine has released a report last week stating more than 40 people claim to have known Majors during a time in graduate school, in his Hollywood career, and in romantic relationships. That's over a long span of time. And a lot of these people did not want to get their names out there, but there are plenty of sources saying that Jonathan Majors does this, by this, just being a generally violent person. Now, let me caveat that by saying being a generally violent person does not make you an evil person, but it does mean you have some issues that need to be dealt with. And people who get a lot of fanfare, of course, have a lot of things turned away and looked the other way. Jonathan Majors, as he's been blowing up in the business, has had a lot of people thinking, wow, this guy's a great actor doing great things. The problem is, apparently there's a darker side that people will attest does exist. And while he could do something about it, He can also sue people who complain that he has it. So there's that. This is one of those two sides things where he got to really hear what he has to say and why these things are being said against him. But once you hear them, you have the chance to sort of vote with your dollars and your feet on what he does. And of course, yes, the court of public opinion can crucify him all day long. That happens all the time. Florida teen charged with wildlife abuse after chugging a twisted tea held by a baby alligator. Not sure which part is the actual abuse, the fact that the alligator had to hold the twisted tea, the fact that twisted tea is being talked about, or in all this case, he had one. But it's literally go to the website, click the link for this story, and there's a picture of a kid who's showing off just being a dumbass, holding a baby alligator who has a beer can in his hand or a twisted tea can in its mouth and chugging it down. Not a good look. Check it out and respond for yourself. We're going to keep this story going. Over the weekend, we used our time in the story of the week to talk about France and the shooting of the teen and how it's been ongoing with more and more rioting for protesting. This is one of many because every single night we put something out about France with another night of protesting. Obviously, the fifth night is in there for the weekend. I guess this would be the sixth night technically coming into today. France has fifth night of rioting over teens killing by police amid signs of subsiding violence. So things are getting better, if you will, but things are not getting better fast enough. In fact, Macron has actually postponed a trip going out of the nation because he's got to deal with stuff in his own backyard. That is being taken care of. The shooting of the teenager last week added by, essentially not adhering to police at a traffic stop is essentially what's going on. His funeral held on Saturday held the rest at a Muslim ceremony in Naturin, a Paris suburb where emotions were high over the loss and, of course, the nights of various rioting and various protests. Not exactly the nicest way of protesting, but still doing it there. The teen's mother and grandmother have both called for the people to stop. We see how well that's working right now. Let's talk about Harry and Meghan because you guys like talking about Harry and Meghan. What they're saying right now is they're blaming a lot of things, basically bad luck and COVID, for a lot of things going on. Now, click on the link for the story and go deeper into what's going on. We don't want to spend too much time here because Mondays get long with the extra stories we put in there. But check it out and see what they're saying. I am now on record. I've been on record before saying that these kids don't deserve all the attention they get, but people love to bash them, so we put them in there every so often so that you guys give us some clicks and some views. But I am now under impression that these two folks really are discontents, whatever you want to call them, just generally jerks. I've said it. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, maybe they weren't so much jerks before, but together they have formed a Voltron of jerkiness, and they are just being annoying. I'm not sure how this gets resolved, and like I said, I don't live on that level, so they'll have to figure it out. But so much crazy stuff going on, including now the fact that Spotify essentially, or Bill Simmons with a big Spotify presence, basically called Harry and Meghan grifters for their deal at Spotify when it blew up on them, and essentially going to Netflix for their series and going to Oprah and writing books and things that aren't necessarily, they're salacious, they're entertaining, but aren't exactly adding to the discourse of goodness or whatever like Harry was doing before when he was actually walking around being a royal and just showing up and doing stuff. Now they're just living off other rich people, I guess. Finally, some good happy things to get on this 3rd of July as we prepare for Independence Day. This guy gets big independence. Traveler hits $1.3 million jackpot at Las Vegas airport slot machine. One lucky traveler won more than $1 million and $3.3 million on a slot machine at the Harry Reid International Airport on Tuesday, just wandering around because Las Vegas has slot machines. Las Vegas wants to get your money anywhere, so they have slot machines, they have games, they have pretty much everything everywhere. He dropped some coins into it, or basically a dollar. It turned into a lot more. So this is not the first time this has happened. And recently, a local guy actually put a dollar bet down. It turned into 16,000, which turned into 2.5 million on a poker hand. So he played poker to bring it up just on his own on that end. This guy dropped in some coins into a jackpot machine at the airport, won 1.3 millions, and says his motto is just keep playing, you may get there eventually. So tell Christina with a K that the J. Cleveland Payne retirement plan of buying lottery tickets is solid because this guy says so. Let's go to our teaser story for today, which is a story. Sorry about that. Story we can talk about tomorrow if you guys deem it worthy of chatting up. And it's very simple to deem it worthy of the chats. You just go to our feeds on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/This is the Conversation Project and Twitter.com/TH_conversation. And as you enjoy or hate the stories, tell us how much you enjoy or hate it. Like it, love it, hate it, share it, engage in the story. And the more sharing it gets, the more loves or hates, more hearts or mean faces it gets, the better chance we have of talking about it throughout the week. Tomorrow through the rest of the week on Friday, we'll give you 8 stories of top 15. Today, 10 from top 30 to get through. This is one that got our money this week, but apparently we were one of the few people there, as we could see, me and JJ, the kid, could see, as there were not many people at the theater when we got there to see the movie. Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, flops at box office, making record low for DreamWorks. Now, this is a movie that JJ was extremely geeked out to see, and we got to see it opening weekend just from a comedy of errors allowed us a chance, a window to go see this movie as it was starting. And I will say very quickly, it was okay. It was kind of good, but just like it essentially is turning red with sea monsters. That's all it is, which may have been why it wasn't heavily taught up. I didn't know about it till we saw it in a preview of another movie, and JJ said she had to see it. And it apparently did not make it into what went on this weekend. So it'll go too much longer. Number 1 was Indiana Jones, and it did not happen to make the money they expected to make. Number 2, Spider-Man, making another big weekend at number 2, so it's doing big stuff there. So it's sticking around. That movie good enough to stick around for quite some time. The other movies, looks like Indiana Jones won't be around too much longer. And this one didn't rate in the top 30, but it also didn't rate very well at all. Click the link. Read the details, find the back story behind the story, and if you want to chat this up tomorrow, just engage in it when it posts on our website, links for Facebook and Twitter, I should say. Facebook.com/This is a Conversation Project and Twitter.com/TH_conversation. Don't let Elon Musk and his, wanting you to not see less tweets get in the way. Go see some tweets from us because we kind of need you there. Let's talk about money because we need to. Today's sponsor that we're highlighting is Flowers Fast. We're highlighting them because, to be totally honest, I couldn't think of anything to highlight on pre-4th of July or 4th of July itself or even post-4th of July. So we just went with celebrations. So let's do celebrating with flowers. Flowers are beautiful. Flowers are lovely. And if you get a celebration that's a last-minute celebration, you may need to get flowers there faster than you thought. So check out Flowers Fast. Keep this link in your back pocket. Save it in your phone so you have it to go through it. Our link is thisistheconversationproject.com/flowersfast. That takes you to our affiliate link for Flowers Fast. That's literally Flowers Fast. And if you go to Flowers Fast and you get an order in early enough in the day, you can get orders in by that afternoon. It is Flowers Fast, literally. And they do nationwide via the FTD Floral Network. So all the great bouquets and all the great gift baskets that you get from FTD, Flowers Fast can take care of it. And they can take care of it pretty quickly. So make sure you hold on to this one for the time you need it. This is the conversationproject.com/flowersfast. Now you can visit any of our sponsors and they'll take good care of you. And we are basically all our sponsors are affiliates. So they will pay us when you use them. But it costs you nothing extra, and they can probably save you something, including a relationship or Mother's Day, Father's Day. We pump this out a lot for people getting things out there last minute. You may need this one, so keep it in your back pocket. It is Flowers Fast. Find them at this. It's the conversationproject.com/flowersfast. The Conversation Project lives. Oops. We didn't take out Fridays. So you can go to AppSumo's a link as well in our sponsorships. They still have great stuff there. It's always there. But let's talk about the Conversation Project. For those not watching the video, that made no sense. Just roll with us here. The Conversation Project lives at thisistheconversationproject.com, and we are here for you essentially 7 days a week. We offer up programming 6 days and some extra stuff coming up Saturdays. We record on 6 days. We release some stuff on Sunday to make it kind of stretch out. But we give you 5 days a week this thing here, a wrap up of news stories from the previous day or weekend to get your day started. That's things you might have heard. The weekly wrap up is a wrap up of news stories for the entire week, the top stories of the week, plus the very bottom story because we like context. And we go deeper into one of those stories that you said was conversational. It gives me a chance to editorialize with the story of the week. Of course, we dealt with the Paris teen being shot and how that relates to a whole lot of things where black teens being shot and black people in general being shot over the past decade or so in very bad ways by police. You want to check all those out, go to our website, thisistheconversationproject.com. You can also go there to see more of our sponsors and visit our partnerships page to see if there's a way that we can partner up together to work on those things and all the other places you can find us. You can, if you're watching the video, you can find the podcast. If you're listening to podcasts, you can find the videos. You can see our other sites out there on the web. You can sign up for our newsletter because it's just, me without the voice and out the face, unless you click the buttons for the voice and face. All that's available at our website. This is theconversationproject.com. Now, we have done all the new stuff, what essentially the bill you paid for. We've paid the bills with promotions going forward. Now you've made it this far. Stick around a little bit longer. Let's have some fun, shall we? The fun stuff happens now as we go into the part where we start off with the birthdays for the day. Happy birthday. Yay! Preparing for the Independence Day. Starting off with birthday wishes to Montel Williams, 67 years old today. There was a time when I was, in between my media stuff and trying to figure out how it was going to do, where being Montel Williams was something that I really wanted to be, or being essentially that guy. Unfortunately, time changes things, and we find out sometimes being that guy or being in those positions is kind of treacherous. We saw that with the ESPN layoffs itself. Once you're in those positions, you've got to stay in those positions. Montel Williams still a pretty influential guy, in my career stuff. Although some of the things he chases right now, not exactly things I'm chasing. Still much love for the man, 67 years old today. Much love for Tom Cruise, despite all the sort of crazy that goes along with Tom Cruise. He is 61 years old today, and the fact that the man is still jumping off of mountains and doing all kind of crazy stuff at his age, at his stature, when he doesn't have to. Although he's still doing action movies when a lot of those guys are doing weird romantic comedy things. Although Harrison Ford is 90 years old and he's jumping out of airplanes and doing crazy stuff as well. Tom Cruise, 61, still definitely getting it done. And happy freaking birthday to Yeardley Smith, the voice of Lisa Simpson and other various animated characters that you may have seen. Also a quite accomplished actor on her own, 59 years old on the day today. Going back, looking into history, on this 3rd of July, starting off in 1922, Fruit and Garden Home Magazine was published its first issue. 2 years later, its publication changed its name to something you may know better, pun intended, Better Homes and Gardens. And it's still out there today. One of the magazines that's still out there, still existing because it's has a need. Maybe the circulation is different. Maybe because everything's on the web now, it's a little bit different. But Better Homes and Gardens, still a magazine, still a publication that does well today. Back in 1970, some 200,000 people heard Jimi Hendrix play the Star Spangled Banner at a 3-day Atlanta Pop Festival opened in Byron, Georgia. You may have seen various films of that. Of course, famous playing at Woodstock is iconic, but essentially it's something he did a lot, playing the Star Spangled Banner for things. 2 days later, Governor Lester Maddox said he would seek legislation to ban rock festivals in Georgia. So I guess he's a bluegrass fan. I don't know. That was 1970. I wasn't quite here quite yet. And in 2008, because of a banking error, a 16-year-old boy in England went to an ATM and found he had $4 million in his account. Of course, what you do when you find you have $4 million in your account. He withdrew $600 to spend because he had extra $4 million. But after the error was corrected, he was then $600 overdrawn because he didn't actually have $4 million. Note to self: when you find an error in your favor, go talk to the bank first. Don't just pull the money and think you got away with it, because you never will. Today is not June the 30th. It's actually July the 3rd, and we should have fixed that. But it is actually Chocolate Wafer Day. Chocolate wafers don't get much of the love they should deserve because chocolate wafers are awesome. Chocolate wafers are delicious, and they're actually fairly low in calorie and sugar if you get the right ones. So if you're looking for a nice little snack to hide in your cabinet that's not as bad as some of the others, try the chocolate wafers. Or if you just want a chocolate wafer, go get some chocolate wafers. Today's a great day to get them because not June 30th, but July the 3rd. People not watching the video have no idea what that's all about. Go get you some chocolate wafers and just enjoy yourself. Trust me, audio listeners. You just want to just go get chocolate wafers. Just forget about all the mistakes I do on the videos, which becomes an issue sometimes. Finally, one more thing you might not have heard is a survey revealed just how widespread mom shaming is, and nearly 2/3 of mothers reported feeling shamed by people in their lives for the way they're raising their children, especially by members of their own family. A small survey by the University of Michigan found that 61% of mothers reported receiving criticism about their parenting choices, largely from their co-parent, their in-laws, or their own parents. Surprisingly, mothers reported receiving less criticism from their friends, other mothers they could come across in public, and even social media commentators than their own families. Mostly because the people that are inside your life are seeing the things and are more readily to say what they would do or what they should do or what you should do, as opposed to total strangers who are just basically empathizing on what you're doing because they know what you know. I will say that one thing that I do my best not to do is to do any mom shaming to my baby mama, Kristen with a K. But yes, there are times when we disagree, and when disagreements come up, essentially she always wins. And with that one, we are done because you know when to back away when you let them win. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne. Today has been Monday, July the 3rd, 2023, at least as I'm speaking these words. Thank you so much for joining us for the presentation that you took in, whether you're watching the video and saw all the gas we had today, or you are listening to the audio and wondering why I'm talking about it so much. It's because the audio comes from the video, and that's just how it goes. Thank you so much for being a part of the family of This Is Conversation. This does not work without you, literally, because you tell us what to talk about every single morning, Monday through Friday, and the weekends as well. So follow us on our feeds on Facebook and Twitter, and make sure you are enjoying and engaging in the stories that come into the feeds. Yes, we'll probably have a story posted in there about Elon Musk and him limiting Twitter use. He says it is temporary, but we'll put something in there once we get a big story that explains a little better than what he did in his explanation. In the meantime, we are here on July 3rd, as many people get it off for a 4 or 5 day weekend, if you will. Sorry about that. Didn't press the button fast enough. And we are here tomorrow for the July 4th because I cannot figure out a way not to wake up at 3 in the morning. So why not get up and do a newscast? So we'll have some July 4th fun and some July 5th fun and 6th and 7th fun as well. And we want you to be around and make sure you're checking your feeds while you're doing all your barbecues and things going forward. Stay hydrated, stay limber, and stay on task for all the grand things you are here on this earth to do. I'm here to do some stuff, including do some family stuff, get a little extra work done, and give you more news stories every 50 minutes on our feeds on Facebook and Twitter. So check them out, tell us what to talk about, and we'll talk about it, some more of it at least, tomorrow.